So we just got a brand new C2 in the Zero costume, and by the end of this video, you're going to find out if you should summon her. Let's get into it. Before I give you my advice on the character, let's go over her skills. So I'm going to go right now to the information page, and we're going to read through what it says about the character, and then I will give my insights as someone who's been playing this game for a year and a half right now. So let's do it. So C2 is a rank 4 special type pilot, and she's actually the first rank 4 special type pilot. Now her first ability as listed here is that every 30 seconds she heals 11% of her health and increases the deployment cost by 21. So she's a cost increaser and she increases her health throughout the battle. Her second ability is she lowers the cost of herself by 11 and the deployment cost of the Black Knights by 21, which is actually pretty solid. And if you go further down, it says right here that Accomplished C2 will not appear in the regular scout or any ongoing scout banner. This pilot may also join other scouts at a later period. So what that essentially means is that this is a limited pilot and it's our first limited pilot. She will not be part of the banners anytime soon. However, in the future, they will add her to the main banner, but that's not for a long time. It might have been actually after the first year anniversary, and we're only in the first week of this game, so you're gonna have to wait a lot to get her. Now let's look at the character when she's fully maxed out. Okay, so this is the main banner. Let's go to the banner that has this new C2, which is right here. I'll click on this magnifying glass to learn more about the character. So she costs 9 to deploy. She's got really good defense, very high health. Her short range is good, long range is not, so obviously put her in a nightmare frame with short range. And then you see the healing effect. You also see the deployment cost, although I thought it was 11, it says here 8. And the decrease of all Black Knights by 1 and herself by 2. So she actually costs 7, not 9 to deploy when you fully upgrade her, but keep in mind that's just her as a pilot. Take into account the Nightmare frame, it would actually be even more expensive. So the question is, should you summon C2? Now here is something to consider. C2 is going to be very helpful in the future because she has a cost reduction for the Black Knights faction. However, there is a pilot called Rakshata who is rank 2 who does the exact same thing, and on deployment she will increase the attack power of every Black Knight deployed. So Rakshata easily replaces C2, so that's not really a good reason to get her. What about the high health? Well, sure, she can be kind of a shield to block other enemies if you don't have, say, Toto, Colin, or Senba, which 2 or 3 of those are not too hard to acquire. The health will actually play a bigger role later on when we get the Gwaine, because the Gwaine has a special ability for the melee weapon where if you pay 3,000 health, that's the activation cost. There's no skill gauge, it's just you pay 3,000 health, the special activates. C2 currently has, as you see here, 7,000 health. Well, actually it's more than 7,000 health. So when you consider that, she can do a lot of damage in the Gwaine. But something to consider also is that when the Gwaine comes out, the melee weapon, it'll come out with a defensive C2 who's much better than this pilot. So even though this new C2 does combo with the Gwaine sometime in the future, that's a long way from now because we don't get C2 until the end of R1, and we've only gone through the first 3 chapters of R1. I know the 4th one's about to come out soon, but the point is we are definitely not close to that. So that's something to think about going forward in the future. In my over year and a half experience playing this game, I rarely see this character talked about or used in actual gameplay, and I guarantee you months from now you're probably gonna forget about her as well. And I think the reason for that is because while this C2 has high health, pretty decent defense, and increases your cost while decreasing the cost of the Black Knight pilots, plus of course she heals herself, there's not much else she does for you in the battlefield. She's a limited character, so that works against her, rank 4 hard to summon, and something else too which you may not have thought about is the fact that she does not have a fast redeployment time. You can't use her like Jeremiah to deploy her and then withdraw and then redeploy her. Yeah, she is a passive cost increaser, but we already have Suzaku, we have Guilford, we have Nagisa, and even the low rank 1 pilots, so there's not a huge need for C2 in that department. So basically the way it works is she does a lot of good things, but as a free-to-play player, or even someone who wants to budget their resources, which I guess they kind of go hand in hand, you have better options to replace C2 if you don't have her. There's not a real need for this character going forward aside from the couple things I mentioned, so unless you are whaling in the game, or you really like C2 and want to collect every single pilot we get for her, don't summon this character. And besides the fact I don't think this character is that necessary, if you take a look at the information page, which let me go to that real quick. So as you see here, we're going to get Lelouch in the Zero costume. We're going to get Colin in the Black Knight uniform. Both their Nightmare frames in the next banner. And if you scroll down further, we're getting this in 2 days. 2 days. So it's not really worth it to go for C2 Unlimited character when we're getting arguably the best character in the game in 2 days, plus Colin, who may not be the best character, but is going to be the best substitute for Cornelia going forward if you didn't get her by all the times you were re-rolling. So with all that said, don't summon this C2, just wait for better characters. And if you're really patient and you stick with this game for, I believe it's the first year anniversary, you'll have a second chance to get her. If you just joined this game and this is your first banner, you probably have other questions about how to play Code Geass Lost Stories. Well, for that, I have 2 videos for you, my top 10 tips and a complete beginner's guide. Go check those out right now.